121 of the On Social Media Show, the podcast for marketing, advertising, public relations, and communications professionals. We are recording live on Google Hangouts on Air on November 22, 2015. This, I should note at the beginning, at the outset, that we will not have a show next week for Thanksgiving holiday, so we'll come back the week after that, but don't expect us to be there because we're not going to be there. Anyway, we start every week with the worst story in communications, and BL always has the honor. So BL, what was the worst thing that happened last week?
Well, sadly, the worst thing that happened last week was that GooglePlus was reorganized, and I am simply convinced that Bradley Horowitz announced this, and I'm simply convinced that they don't use their own platform, or they don't understand how people who really use it. They said they interviewed a lot of people to see what kind of changes to be made. They listened, but it's clear that they didn't listen. But one thing that they did that you really have to take action on is that you have to go to aboutme.google.com, and you have to make sure that you like the profile that's there. You better get busy fixing it, because that profile is now going to be across all Google products and not just on Google+. And what Google has not done is fix the issue of multiple profiles, which so many thousands of people ended up with. I have at least 3 on Google. But in order to have the About Me page fixed, you have to have a Google+ profile to begin with. So the more things change, the more they stay the same. But so what they took away was they took away events. They took away easy access to Hangouts, because they made Hangouts its own app a while ago. So Hangouts are its own app. But if you want to find events, the only way you can do that is to go back to the classic Google, which is it's down at the bottom of left-hand side of the page, and you go back there, and you can find the events that that are coming up and that you want to go to. And there are many things that have disappeared. What they're doing is they're trying to make Google center on collections where people will put, like I have one about Benny. I have a collection of posts about Benny. I have one about the Beyond Social Media Show, where I have posts that relate to Beyond Social Media Show. And so the idea there is that people are going to follow collections that are topics they're interested in. And the other thing they kept, which is a good thing to keep, is communities, because some of those are really active, and all of those are pretty terrific. So they kept communities, they kept collections, but they took away everything else that you can't find your circles, by the way. If you want to find your circles, I have slides that will show you how to do that. It's like a 5-step process. I mean, they just made it much more complicated and said they made it simpler in typical Google fashion.
Well, I haven't played around. I mean, Google Plus for me has been primarily a way to send a signal to Google about content, and a way to share stuff from mobile apps to a place for referring to later. And so in that sense, the collections looks like a good thing to me, because I collect a lot of things and I'd like to put them in different buckets, except I can't do that from the apps that I'm using right now, so it doesn't really help me all that.
Are you on an iPhone?
Yeah.
They just today, I think, made the iPhone update for Google Plus available, so you will be able to do it from your phone.
Well, that's helpful then. But the communities, I think, are a good thing. The communities, all the communities that I've looked at or participated in, have strong moderations, have strong people who are administrators to it, and so that's a key to a good community. But yeah, I think they're engineers. They re-engineer stuff, and they got to use it to really understand how people use it, and not make things 5-step processes to figure out how to do something.
One of the really important things here is the events and the Hangouts. And I have no problem with Hangouts being a separate app. What I have a problem with is not being able to find out what Hangouts I want to watch. So, come on. So if you have something to say about it, you have to go to feedback and be very specific about what feature you're asking them to add or subtract or change. And they claim they're listening. I don't believe them.
Well, here's another thing I don't believe in, and this is another re-engineering snafu, I think, and it is Twitter. And we mentioned this in past episodes that Twitter was planning on removing the tweet count from the share buttons that you see on blog posts and everything. And they've done it, and they did it. They flipped the switch on the 21st. Yesterday. So now all of the tweet buttons have. They don't have a 0 count on them. They're just a tweet button. They don't have any counts on them at all. And so this is from a Social Media Today article by Andrew Hutchinson. They are removing basically the way of automating that display of tweet counts through Twitter's API. As I said, the buttons don't show 0. They just are a button now. Twitter's development team explained their logic behind the change. They said they're moving to a new database system called Manhattan that wouldn't support the share count API. They said they could rebuild the support function into the new system, but it would be at some cost. So no, they're not going to do it. The solutions that Hutchinson proposes are do nothing, and you won't have your tweet counts. We use Dig plugin for the Beyond Social Media Show blog, and that has updated, so it's just showing the tweet button. And not the share accounts. You can buy GNIP, which is Twitter's analytics service, and that costs upwards of $3,000 a month, and that's the way you'll get your share accounts. But that's out of reach for a lot of people. You can implement your own system by tracking clicks through to your tweet button. But that's going to require some programming knowledge and analytics tracking system. You could use BuzzSumo, which I think is a fantastic tool that I use, and that will give you share counts. Or BuzzSumo now has a Chrome extension that's free that will give you the share counts, but you have to go to the page to view them, right? You have to be on the page that you want to see the share counts through the Chrome extension. So they're not going to just be displayed on pages. It's short-sighted by Twitter, I think, because, I mean, one, I don't buy their technical explanation. All those things may be true, but I suspect they want to push GNIP subscriptions. It removes the social proof that everybody wants on their page that shows that people are interested in that content. But by removing that social proof, it also removes the awareness that that data is available. And that would lead somebody to potentially pay for an analytics service like GNIP. So I think it's free advertising for GNIP and services like it. And now publishers, because there's no count on it, they're going to deprecate the Twitter button. They're going to push it below the other ones that actually show share counts. And so they're just plain annoying everyone. And Twitter already has horrible relations with developers because they're constantly pulling out the rug from their API efforts. So, you know, this is just another example. Well,
it's another example of engineers running the show. It's a bad thing for a company to do. Yeah, I mean, anybody who has staked their success on the Twitter API, you know, they're in very hot soup. You just can't do that. So, the other thing that I saw this week that just really just distressed me is there were some horrible businesses that immediately began commercializing the ParisAttacks. And there was an article in Vice about this, and the headline was "The Vultures Who Tried to Make Money Out of the ParisAttacks." Was an article by Julie LeBaron. And, you know, after 9/11, there were these vulture vendors on the streets within hours with bin Laden dartboards and Twin Tower T-shirts, and it was disgusting. I mean, really disgusting. And so now you fast forward to the ParisAttacks, and on the night of November 13th, the French illustrator Jean Julien posted a drawing he'd made of the Eiffel Tower as part of the peace symbol. It was a beautiful drawing. And he just wanted to convey the message of peace and solidarity. He wasn't looking for a benefit, but online retailers on Zazzle immediately started printing it on iPhone cases and T-shirts and badges, and on Etsy you could buy a matching set of pendant and earrings, and some websites said they were going to give some, or sometimes they said they were going to give all the money to the victims associations or organizations like Red Cross, but who knows if they did that. And Nine Line Apparel had a T-shirt that said, "All lives matter except ISIS. Fuck those guys." You know, did they sell a lot of those? Who knows? So finally, Zazzle sent an email to Vice, and they said, following negative comments, we decided to withdraw the product's link to the tragedy. So LeBron said, you know, public opinion, it seems, can have an impact even on grief capitalists, and that's disgusting.
Yeah, I have some judgment. I mean, seriously, that's something that you hope that sober minds are involved in and make a decision at the outset that maybe this isn't a good idea. One thing that you kind of expect is the rabble that is the online comments and online in Twitter too, especially. I mean, YouTube is horrible, but Twitter has it as well. And so this is a story that sort of follows on the ParisAttacks story as well. This is from the Daily Beast. Arthur Chu is the writer, and it is about a Sikh from Toronto who was basically framed for the ParisAttacks by GamerGate trolls. So you may have seen the image of the smiling man wearing a bomb vest holding a Quran who was identified as the suicide bomber that was responsible for the ParisAttacks. This ran in the Spanish newspaper La Razón on their front page as one of the terrorists. An Italian TV channel, TG24, put up the photo as a stand-in for the terrorists. The only problem is the picture was photoshopped to make the man look like a terrorist. The guy in particular, his name is Virender Jubal, and he's a Sikh, not a Muslim, from Toronto with 12,000 followers on Twitter. He's sort of got some Twitter fame. He's a video gamer who has mildly criticized video games for their lack of diversity, which is true. And for that, he has incurred the wrath of online gamers who troll and flame him, and they also Photoshop him as a way of ridicule. The most recent Photoshop was turning him into a terrorist by Photoshopping a bomb vest on him and him holding a Quran. Chu's article details Jubal's travails, and it uses that as a cautionary tale to explain the, to talk about the responsibility of publications to vet what they put on there. And it could just take one unstable person to turn such responsibility into tragedy and make it lethal. So, I mean, it's all too common, unfortunately.
That is really hideous. That brings us, however, fortunately, to the best examples in digital communications this week. And the segue that I have right from there is that, it's probably never been more important than now to vet the information that you put online before you spread rumors. And Howard Rheingold, who I've talked about a lot here, who's the author of NetSmart and several other books, and who's just a genius about the internet, he has an open document called Crap Detection, and he shares crap detection resources. And what he's saying is that you need to make sure that you can document the truth of anything that you see like that, like that story you just told, in 3 different credible sources. And he has resources on this page that people can add to that, certain people, you have to be invited to add to it. And we can go there and we can check, like, is this guy really a terrorist, or is he actually, not even a Muslim? And I just hope people will use crap detection in everything they do online, from email and onward. And speaking of crap detection, I have to tell you about the phishing that's going on, PHISH, that's going on with Apple right now. My friend yesterday got a message on her iPhone that said your login and Apple ID have been used to register a new iPad, and she doesn't have a new iPad. So she was smart enough to call Apple, and Apple said, do nothing, touch nothing. But what you have to do is you have to go to Safari, and you have to close all of the open tabs that you've left open. And if you're anything like me, that would be about 40 of them. And there's a little thing at the bottom of Safari that looks like a book. It's on the far right side on the bottom of your screen. You click on that, and it brings up every page that you've been through. You close those all. you close Safari, you have to shut your phone off and turn your phone back on. And that's the only way that you can be safe from that particular phishing message until the next one comes. I got one that said you need to renew your one-to-one membership, but I don't have a one-to-one membership. So I called the number and they answered the phone. They said, "Thank you for calling Apple." And then when I asked a question, they put me on hold and never came back. And so I called Apple and they said, "Oh, good thing you called us." Be careful out there.
Yeah. Those would come in the form of emails, right? Where you have to click a link to.
Yeah, but hers was a text message on her phone.
Oh, right. Yeah. So if you got your phone number in public, then that's possible as well. So.
How do you know?
That's public. Yeah. So my good thing is just something that it's not a particular story, but something I've been thinking about for a long time, and I finally wrote a long post about it. So since it's on my mind, I want to talk about it. That is the trend towards immersive storytelling. We sort of dabbled at the edges through various episodes about this trend when talking about different developments in online communications. But I think it's important for us to pay attention to it. So I've been thinking about immersive storytelling and how humans throughout the ages have always been trying to tell more and more immersive stories, starting from cave paintings, going to Greek theater, written language, visual arts, still photography. All those technologies have been incorporated into storytelling over the years. Moving pictures, we went from silent moving pictures to color, to surround sound, to smell-o-vision, to 3D, to IMAX, where you even have the illusion of motion. To sort of, we're at the beginning of the modern storytelling era, where all these technologies are coming together to present a lot of exciting opportunities. So the cutting edge 3D Avatar movie was amazing in its capabilities of telling a story that had physical depth to it. First, GoPro, the introduction of the GoPro camera has allowed us to tell things that look like you're experiencing it from a person's point of view. 360 photographs, where you can pan through the photo and see all around you, immersive. So Google's got Photosphere. They've incorporated into Google Street View and Google Earth. Flickr's got support coming for that. 360 video. Google's got Spotlight Stories, where you can watch a movie and look around throughout the movie as the movie is taking place. They've got 360 videos, as you mentioned last week, on YouTube. Facebook has support for 360 videos. In fact, they've got a clip from Star Wars where you're on one of the vehicles in Star Wars and speeding through the desert, and you can look around into the Star Wars universe as you're riding through it. So it's pretty cool.
Do you have to have Oculus Rift for that? How do you do that?
No, that's just, you can see those on YouTube. You can see those on Facebook. It's the same. It's just it's like a 360 photo, except it's video. You just pan around using your cursor, or if you're on mobile device, moving your phone around.
Cool.
So it works just like that, yeah. And then there's persistent virtual worlds. Second Life was very popular back in the day. World of Warcraft is this game that's been going on forever, and it is a video game that is going on, a world that is going on, whether you're logged in or not. But they've got like 16 million subscribers that pay a subscription every month to play in that game. So a virtual environment. Video games, Star Wars Battlefront, Call of Duty, they demonstrate, their ads feature people transported in the game, so they know what they're selling. Virtual reality is starting to come to the fore. Oculus Rift, Samsung, Google Cardboard, which I tried with, I finally got a Google Cardboard that fixed my iPhone 6 Plus, and watched the New York Times Displaced video, and it's just amazing because you can just look around. And then augmented reality is the other part of it. Google Glass was a failed experiment, but it was a noble experiment. Augmented reality apps have succeeded, though, with Word Lens, which was incorporated into the Google Translate app, where you can look at, point your phone at a foreign language. It'll automatically translate it through the viewfinder into English or into your language. And then finally, Microsoft HoloLens, which is another augmented reality. So all these things are coming together. I think we just have to pay attention to these as communicators to understand their capabilities and how we can innovate with those.
It's a really extraordinary development, and it's happening fast, you know. I mean, we talked about it for years, and you had to have downloads and you had to have things, and now you just have to have a headset of some sort, the simplest being the Google one. I mean, Google Cardboard is pretty amazing. So they come in sizes. There's one for the bigger phone.
Yeah, there's a Cardboard 2 version 2 now that fit the bigger phones. I bought the older version and that didn't fit. So
I must point out that Dave is once again ready to bolt for the football game of who?
The Minnesota Vikings. They're playing the Packers. Playing their
jersey.
rival, the Packers. Yep.
Is that your lucky shirt?
It is. I got my Chuck Foreman shirt. Back in the day, Chuck Foreman was the Vikings all-star running back. Got my Vikings cap, so I don't want to jinx them. We got to wear the stuff that works.
Yeah, you got to always wear the stuff that works. Well, it's a very interesting thing to be thinking about. So, something that I thought was quite extraordinary, that BBC News did a translation of Antoine Lyris's Facebook tribute to his wife Helene, who was murdered in the Paris attacks. She was at the Bataclan Theater in Paris. And he said it's been viewed more than 45 million times on Facebook and 130 million times on YouTube. And he says in it, you know, I won't give you the gift of my hatred. And my 17-month-old son won't give you that either. And every day that he is happy in his life, because you'll never know happiness, that will be just another way that will keep the gift of hatred away from you, because we're going to live our lives with love. And it's a beautiful thing. You really have to look at it. And, you know, the fact that so many people have looked at it, you need a couple tissues when you hear it. Very extraordinary.
Well, that is that is one of the hardest things to do, to forgive somebody who's dealt you a huge tragedy. And it is a courageous thing to do, but it's the right thing to do, because if you don't forgive, if you can't find it in yourself to forgive, and then you're not going to know happiness. And that's exactly what, you know, I mean, instilling terror and misery is basically an accomplishment that they're trying to achieve. So, yeah, I haven't seen it, but I don't know if I want to see it.
One that Madonna did was, you know, pretty much the same thing, and you know, really an extraordinary thing from her. But I thought the best part of hers was when she started to tear up and a fan handed her a tissue.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Those tiny moments of human kindness that are the most touching. So going on my immersive storytelling, I was trying out my new cardboard, and I tried out the Infinity Automobile driver's seat VR app, which is fantastic. So it literally puts you in the driver's seat of an Infinity Q60 and QX30 concept cars. And so you get to experience being in the driver's seat and driving around all these beautiful scenic roads and through mountains. And I've never understood why automobile manufacturers don't use video game technology to do just that, give you the experience of what it's like to drive a car that they're trying to sell. It would completely help sell automobiles, and nobody's done it, but this is exactly what Infinity has done with their VR app. So you can look around and see as you're driving through these mountains and see the beautiful vistas and everything, and get a feel for what it's like. So that's exactly what automakers should be doing.
Well, this is something that Toyota did in 2013. Remember that? Where they did it in a hangout, and you could get 10 people into a hangout, and they could help you to design your car. You could add all the different features to it. You could see it in all the colors, but then you could test drive it. You go through mountains, and you could go through, you know, woods, and you could go through all these things. And it was by moving your head that the car turned and all of that. And, you know, I wondered, like, when that happened, like, why doesn't every car company do that? But they didn't. It's not, you know, simple technology. That's the thing. And I don't know, like in one way, brands are afraid of new technology, and in another, like, sometimes they jump right in, and you never know who's going to do what. But talking about new technology, finally, at long last, blabs have added show cards, meaning that you are able to brand your blabs with graphics. Like we have the graphics for Beyond Social Media Show, we can now have Beyond Social Media Show graphics on blabs. It's very early. They released it because everybody wanted it, but right now you upload it when you set up a new blab, and pretty soon the graphic identity will play in the tweets, and it will replay in. It'll be in the replays. Right now it's not, and they'll also soon be available on iOS. Right now it's just for the web. So we'll post the link to the Medium post from Brittany Metz, and it has the dimensions that you need to have for your show cards. But that's a real leap forward for Blab.
Yeah, as I was telling you before the show, that's the image that you have for your show notes of this new thumbnail or show card is exactly the image that I saw, and I mentioned earlier in the year about them doing this. I thought they actually had it. I must have come across the post before it was like prematurely published, and I got it.
You hacked Blab, right?
I went back to look at it, and I couldn't find it. So I feel like, was I dreaming this?
That's funny. That's really funny. Do you have another good one for us?
Yeah, I do. This is pretty cool. Microsoft and Code.org are going to be using Minecraft to teach kids programming. This is from a Bloomberg story by Dina Bass. And so Microsoft is teaming with Code.org. They're a nonprofit that offers free programming tools for kids. And they're going to bring Minecraft to the group's popular Hour of Code tutorials. Minecraft, of course, was acquired by Microsoft for $2.5 billion last year. And it puts users of it, it's a game, puts users of it inside a vast pixelated 3D landscape and allows them to build with blocks made from different resources. It's super, super popular. Kids can go to code.org and find tutorials with 14 levels of Minecraft, including a free playboard. Star Wars was added to code.org's lineup last week, so they've got another popular title there. Microsoft is code.org's biggest financial backer. Code.org was started in 2013 to make computer science education more available to children. The goal is boosting participation in the field by women and students of color, and more than 100 million students have tried out the Hour of Code, which uses popular entertainment like Flappy Birds in its tutorials. And it's another mission of the organization is trying to get schools to participate during Computer Science Education Week this year. So programming, I think this is a fantastic effort. Programming, I think, is going to be as essential a skill as skillful use of language in the not too distant future.
It will be a language that kids need to learn, and you know, they're teaching it in first grade. They're starting right off, and it's pretty amazing. I mean, kids in first and second grade are learning how to make apps and do things that were completely not even in the realm of possibility, let alone, you know, stuff any nerdy kid was doing when we were growing up. But this week there was World Kindness Day, and there was a promo by Kind Bars, which is a report, you know, a supposedly healthy snack. And what they did was the campaign's still live, and they used the hashtag #KindaAwesome, and it's where you describe like little things, little acts of kindness that you know, people do for each other. And so when somebody does something like that, you give them a #KindaAwesome card, and you just pass one to somebody who you spot being kind. You do it by Twitter or Facebook or email, and then they enter the code that they got on the card, and Kind sends them a free Kind snack, and then they pay it forward by being kind to someone else, you know. So it's just kind of a nice idea.
That's very cool.
Yes, I like that. And the other one that I think is really big fun is there's a contest. It's the UK only right now, but you can enter. This is from Jens Wilcombe, and it's from it's on YouTube, and the question is, did you muck up your marriage proposal? And they want to give you a chance to do it over. So the marriage proposal that they show in the YouTube video. The guy's they're on the rocks at the beach, and he gets down on his knee, and he's proposing, and along comes a big wave. I assume they lost the engagement ring, but who knows? But anyway, if you tell your story of how yours got mucked up, then they're going to give somebody people will vote, and somebody whose disaster was the funniest or the worst, or I don't know what the judgment is going to be, but they'll have a chance to do it over.
Who knew you'd actually get a chance to do over your engagement?
I mean, imagine if you were the one who was filming the guy. You know, people go through all this trouble to get somebody to film and photograph and everything else, and you're the one who's filming it, and they drown. That was very sad.
It's hilarious. Well, they're looking for reality TV show episodes with that.
And they found them. So I believe that brings us to apps, right? I'm hearing echoes. That brings us to apps, yes? It does. Okay, so as soon as I find one, I'll share it with you. You have one ready?
I do indeed. Tumblr is added another feature. So last week they added the ability to do instant messaging, and now they have the ability to make GIFs from your photos. So GIFs are typically pretty hard to create manually. I've done a few, and they haven't turned out very well. They look crappy typically, and they're often very grainy and just not high quality. But with this new Tumblr feature, you can make GIFs from a video that's on your phone or a photo burst. So you can crop, zoom, trim, speed it up, slow it down, loop it, do rebound so it goes back and forth. And it does do high quality. I've got an example of keeping the show notes. High quality GIFs, and I created mine from a photo burst. And the only problem is that they're kind of small. They're 400 pixels wide, which is probably what you have to deal with when you're creating GIFs, because the larger you make them, the less quality there will be in them. But it's a cool new feature.
That I have to get that one. I have a helmet that turns your brainwaves into electronic music, and it's called the Experience Helmet. It's made by a Lithuanian sound artist whose name is, I'm going to screw this up, Aisti Noriklite. And when you put it on, it looks like a motorcycle helmet, but all of a sudden you're immersed in your sounds, and they're the high and low tones that come from your brain, and they are combined to make an electronic beat. And the more active you're thinking, the more frenetic the beat is, and as two tones of slightly different frequency enter your ears, the brain produces a binaural beat, and it's the equivalent of this is so cool, of the alpha brain waves that occur in states of light meditation.
So that you can actually manipulate the music by thinking.
You manipulate the music by thinking, and you can put yourself into an alpha state with your thoughts, and the music sort of guides you there. I did something a few years back that was a treatment that was being used for ADHD, and in it I forget what it was called, but you wore this headset and you used your brain waves to play Pac-Man, or to put a line down a road, and in order to make that happen, you had to put yourself into this alpha state, and then you learned how to do it. And kids were using it on their minds, and athletes use it for peak performance. Very, very cool. I forgot what it's called. Do you remember what it's called?
I don't remember. I've done something like that. It wasn't Pac-Man, but I have had the sensors on your head, and you control the game by thinking where you want the cursor to go. Yeah. So I've done that before. But I would be fascinated to hear what something sounds like if you're like reading a poem, or if you're whatever. I just want to. What does your brainwave sound like from something that you've already created? And if just how much is it? Does it cost?
I don't know how much it costs. I don't know. I don't think it said that in the article. I'll go look though.
Probably.
I'm not. It's not cheap.
Yeah. Here's a free cool thing that I found, and hadn't even thought about it, but there's an emoji tracker, emojitracker.com. You go to that website and you can see what the most popular emojis are being used on Twitter. So I wouldn't have even thought of tracking emojis, but there you go. You can find out what the most popular emojis are, and maybe figure out what emojis you want to use with your tweets based on their popularity. So
That's
interesting,
kind of fun.
little tool there, yeah. So do you have another tool? Another cool
I do
tool?
not. I do not.
All right. So I have one project, and this is very fascinating. I was quoted in a native advertisement.
That's
I
weird.
have responded to a journalist request for things that small businesses owners, resources small business owners need to know, and found out that it had turned up in a sponsored article on T-Mobile, by T-Mobile was the sponsor, on USA Today for Up Your Game 5 need-to-know resources for small business owners. So I assumed I was responding to a question for an article, but it turned out it was a native advertisement.
That's a little weird. How'd you feel about that?
I didn't know how to feel at first, but I guess it makes sense. I mean, it's content. It's just sponsored content, and they got a reporter creating it. So, well, there you go.
Interesting. That brings us to daily numbers, Dave.
It does, and starting off and ending the show on GooglePlus. So I figured if we're going to talk about GooglePlus's changes, let's take a look at what GooglePlus really means in terms of numbers. And this is GooglePlus penetration in the U.S. This is based on research released in October by GfK-MRI of a survey of 25,000 U.S. adults. And from this sample size, big sample size, 17.8% of them were reported using Google Plus at least once during the last 30 days. So this was released in October, probably done in September, so fairly recent data. So 17.8% using Google Plus. The younger you are, so the 18 to 24-year-olds, those are 20.6% of 18 to 24-year-olds had, 22.6% of 25 to 34-year-olds had used it in the last 30 days, and then the numbers go down as you get older, so that makes sense too. But just a sort of an update on Google Plus numbers.
I wonder if their first question was, do you use the internet? I mean, you can make numbers say whatever you want them to say. So I don't know. I really don't know. Anyway, yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say we're not going to be here next week.
Yes, we're not. We're taking Thanksgiving off. We hope you all have a wonderful Thanksgiving too.
And you want to finish this up, Dave?
Well, yes. Thanks for watching episode 121 of the On Social Media Show. We'll have links to everything that we talked about at the BeyondSocialMediaShow.com/121. Let us know what you think. Leave us a review. We'd love to hear your feedback. You can find places to leave us a review on both iTunes and Stitcher at BeyondSocialMediaShow.com/love. We'll have links to those pages on iTunes and Stitcher. You can find me at D. Erickson on Twitter. My blog is e-strategyblog.com. I also blog my agency's blog, creativepr.com/blog. BL you can find at What's Next. Her blog is what'snextblog.com. She also writes for Ad Age, of course, and she is the president and chief executive and all things, everything for maximum-plus.com, where you can hire her for online events and video marketing. The show you can find at BeyondSocialMediaShow.com. We're on Twitter at BS Media Show. Follow us there, and be sure to subscribe to our weekly newsletter, BeyondSocialMediaShow.com/newsletter, where you get exclusive content. You won't miss an episode. And you'll have some awesome things in a moment of joy every week. It's worth it.
And you're going to love our newsletter. It's not going to be like any other newsletter you get now. And so do subscribe and have a wonderful Thanksgiving. And we'll be back in 2 weeks. See you then.